Grown black folks talk, grown conversation about abandonment issues, trauma bonding in black men, and what black women should do about it going into 20 as we leave 2022. There are two videos. I will put both of them in the description because the ideas expressed in both. The two videos explain a lot of things and gave me a lot of clarity about what's going on with black men and how that is impacting generations of black women. Tony Gaskins he did a video called Abandoned Black Men to talk about why there's so much backlash against Deion Sanders for having moved from Jackson State, which is an HBCU, to Colorado University. And while on one hand, business people look at it as a good business move, so many people are upset because this is another occasion in which very young black men are feeling abandoned. And generally, the abandonment begins with their own fathers. We can argue all day long about whose fault that is, but from a boy's perspective, because a boy needs to imprint on a man to become a man, if his father's not there, no matter what that reason is, he goes through feeling abandoned. And unfortunately, the popular culture of black men does not support fatherhood. Name a hip hop song that honors a loving father. Hip hop covers 40 years. R&B, nope. The last popular song I can remember was Color Him Father. It's a great song too. Color Him Love. And it's a magnificent song. And then there's a song about Walk Easy, Son. That's another good song, Fathers to Sons. But there's more songs. Even then, Papa was a rolling stone, wherever he laid his hat was his home. And when he died, oh, this was alone. That was already out there. But at least there was balance. There's no balance now. And the reason this is so important is to keep this short. Men, boys must imprint. And so if daddy's not there, he imprints on the men around him. And if you're in a culture that does not value fatherhood, if he's in a culture that does not value mature manhood, and when I say mature, I mean maturing both emotionally and intellectually, he will imprint on the men who are out there and the boys who are growing up around him. And this is where we get to Erica Dinero TV's latest video, where she describes how her father identified more with the man who abused her because they had a similar situation. Erica was a single mother. Her mother was a single mother. Father is still mad at Erica's mother and so imprints and attaches to Erica's abuser more than to her. But see, this is also what happens. Abandoned boys become men who are so desperate for the image of a man to imprint on that they attach to their boys, and then trauma bonding happens. This is how you get these massive femicide numbers because men are sitting around not only dealing with their trauma of feeling abandoned and mistreated, but they're talking to all these other men who also have been abandoned by the older generation that should have guided them into manhood. And they're all talking about the only people that they have to talk about, whoever they are the women. So whatever it is they feel the women did wrong, they're not only mad about whoever it was in high school or whoever it was who did them wrong when nobody knew what they were doing because they weren't old enough and nobody had proper guidance because daddy wasn't there, but now they're downloading each other's traumas so that you as a woman meet them and they're taking more from J. Cole about who you are and what their boys say about the women that they've encountered about who you are than actually able to get to know you. And this is why across even generations, these men will go so hard for each other. It's like people talk about, well, they're really gay undercover. No, it's not necessary. It has nothing to do with their sexuality in the sense that this hunger for a man has to do with that father hole, that father who was not there left. Men want to talk about the problem is single motherhood. No, the problem is not the parent who stayed. The problem is the parent who was not there to show you how to be a man. How bad is this? Tony Gaskins, literally this week, is flying around the world because he promised some young athletes that he would come back and speak to them. And he said something that was really horrifying. If you consider how much black men are pushed into sports and entertainment, he said about head coaches in general at these different schools do not, and college programs do not want to put time and money into motivational speakers. So he has to work for free to be able to reach these young men. And he's going to one place, he gets a call from somewhere else, some other student union will call him, and people will beg him to come in and speak to them because this hole must be filled. It will either be filled by a man who loves his family and who knows how to make money legally and knows how to build businesses, 38-year-old Tony Gaskins, or it will be filled. This is why so many men are broken up about Kevin Samuels, because this hole must be filled. And when Kevin Samuels died, some of these men lost their fathers all over again. And this is why it does not excuse it, but this is why we have these men who are big upping other men doing the most ridiculous things to black women because they need that bond with these men so bad because it was never filled by the person who should have filled it. I have now spent a total as of next year, it will be a total of 26 years teaching in some capacity in the black community. And I have encountered families where there was nobody there but a great grandfather or an uncle somewhere. And I have encountered families where for 3 generations there is no man there. If it's a girl, at least she has her mom, her grandma, her great grandma, a bunch of aunties. If it's a boy, he has no one, and I cannot reach him there. I will do the best I can, but there's certain things he cannot imprint on me. If he imprints on me, he's going to be messed up because why? I am a woman. I cannot show him all of the nuances of being a man and finding his way in the world and doing what a woman like him needs, like a woman like me needs in a man. It's not possible for me to do that. So, because the women stay and the men leave, these boys are lost, imprinting on the nearest thing that has the scent of masculinity on them because they have no choice. Now, here is the challenge for us. Most of my audience is black women, but I have some black men here. As I say all the time, we should try to be fair but strict. So I'm being fair in the first half, and I'm going to be strict in a little bit later. I did not know before watching, before encountering these two videos, I did not understand that it's two halves of the same puzzle. But I have said before that there is absolutely nothing that black women can do to compensate black men for this level of loss in America. We can't fill the hole. So then becomes okay, since we can't fill the hole, what happens next? Well, easy answer from black men, which is being completely rejected. Here it is. Well, why don't you just continue to compensate us the way you have been compensating us for 400 years? That's the easy answer. This is what black men really want. They want a traditional woman who's going to continue to do her best to fill a hole that can't be filled. Because in 1950 and earlier, you did not have the complete lack of father figures. This cannot be filled today in 2022. Can't be done. Which is why that easy answer for black men is being basically answered increasingly with no, pluck you. The word does not begin with a PL. It rhymes with pluck, but we're not going there on this channel. Pluck you. That's an easy answer. It's also the wrong answer. Both of those are the wrong answers because they do not give us the ability to save our own lives and to save our children. I present to you a third answer that I have been testing at the end of 2022, and I have never known it to fail. As a black woman, I am humble enough to accept I cannot fill a father hole in a man. That is simply not going to happen. But what I am doing is making myself familiar with the names and the activities of black men who can provide this. I mentioned Tony Gaskins. Tony Gaskins is the head of My Mentor Life, which I keep putting in the description often when I say please heal, and that's there. Tony Gaskins does life coaching. His father does life coaching. So if any of you want to be able to talk to the man that got Tony Gaskins' two-parent home, was always there with him, and turned his son coming from the area where they came from to this multi-million-dollar man who's raising his family and running around the world helping other people, his father is available there. And there are other, I know there's at least a Roderick, and there's other black men there who are also coaching. So go past the black, don't be frustrated by the number of black women who are coaching, because black women are always going to get up and find a way to get to it. We've had to do it for the last 400 years. But don't be frustrated by that. Find yourself a black male life coach on BetterHelp. Go through it until you find a black male life coach if that's what you feel you need. Some black men are mixed. So find whatever you need. Find a male therapist if that's what you need. What we have to get really good at doing is, and see, I've been in arguments with things that would have been arguments. That's actually going to be people you need to leave in 2022 part 5. But people who would have argued with me, and all I did with the young man was just say, well, so and so on such channel is actually talking about how you actually work that. He's like, word. And that ended the argument. Didn't hear nothing else from him. Because what did he really want? He wanted to be reconnected with a father figure. That's all some of these men want. We can't do it, but we can refer it. Now, how does this tend toward our healing? This tends for our healing as black women because we are looking stupid, dumb, and ugly sitting up here talking about black men ain't never done nothing in the past 400 years. The level of foolishness that is it comes from frustration for what the men around a particular woman have not done. But it's just not true. So what this forces you to do is to actually look around and see, okay, is there even anything online where men are building right now, where men have good advice? Okay, that may not be quite the way I would do it, but a man needs to hear a man because they sure enough ain't listening to me. And as you begin to discover the resources that are available to men, you will also realize, okay, there are decent men still left out here. There are more than I thought. That will help to heal you as well. And it will give you hope for your brothers and your sons as well. Maybe there's not enough of them for every black woman to have a mate. No, we outnumber black men about 2 million. So, no, that's not going to happen. But in terms of us being able to guide our children to have a healthy self image and to not go through the abandonment trauma we do, there are enough. And then you don't have to step in and you get out of the habit. You become very ruthless. You become very strict with yourself. You do not fix anything for a man. You refer him to men who can help him learn how to do that for himself. And then if he refuses to do that, you get strict with him and cut him completely off. Because what we're going to have to do is leave black men with no option but to start doing the work, or you don't get anything over here. If you get moving, okay, I can assist you in getting moving. But if you're not going to do anything bad, cut them off entirely. Now, if you happen to have sons with these men, what do you do to keep your son from having to go through high levels of this very damaging, life destroying trauma? It's the same thing. You find men around you who can build. Now, there is one thing the father of your child can do, provided he is not an abuser, provided he is not in open criminal activity. Those are, of course, the exception. But God chose you and that child's father to get that child here. And that gives the biological father some priority because there are things about your son that literally come from his father. But that does not mean letting him have access to his child is important because your child needs that. But in terms of A absent father having to be the main imprint, no, that's not necessary. Because if he's not caring enough to make it happen to be there, if he's not caring enough to properly co-parent, if he has all these additions on, well, he needs to be able to have sex with you and have money from you and all this to make it to be involved with the child, then he does not need to be the primary imprint. You find other men who can be the primary imprint. Since this individual does not care enough about his son to become who he needs to be, you find people that will. And if your son is young enough, race isn't as big of an issue. What you want to do is find men who build and men who are whole and healthy enough to love. Children in general, do you have to vet the heck up out of everybody? Yes, you do. But at the same time, your son needs to imprint on men who build. You do not want your son to get to a certain age and have to imprint on the foolishness that is around him in a lot of our culture right now. So you must find a way around that. But again, that does not mean giving your body access, giving yourself romantic access, giving financial access to random men. This is you learning what men around you are actually doing the right thing, or getting to a place, or finding out where they are and doing whatever you have to do to leave your present mature man deprived situation behind and getting yourself and your son to where you need to be in life. And your daughter also. Your daughter will do better because she will be able to imprint on you, but it causes damage. But we're not talking about that one today. That causes massive damage for daughters to not be able to imprint on a proper man either. Massive damage. But the point I'm making here is that refer men to other men. Stop trying to solve men's problems. Stop overcompensating. Refer men to who they need. Other men willing to walk with them and do the work as men. I have mentioned two resources here. MyMentor.life was founded by a black man. There are black male coaches on there. BetterHelp has therapists across the country. You can find therapists that fit. They will let you ask for racial preference. I don't. I think they have a gender preference also. I haven't been on there for a while, but you can go look if you care enough. Because again, what do we have to do? We have to cut people off who don't want to grow. Man, woman, child, or beast. You have to leave people like that in 2022. But if you care about the life you save, may be your own, your sister's, your daughter's, or your granddaughter's. Don't sit up here indifferent if you are still living in a community that has black men in it. Don't be indifferent. If someone cares enough to come to you, have male resources, good ones, so that this man can find his way. And if there are not men interested in growing, then you don't need to do anything else with them but figure out how you're going to get out. Period. Because black men need to be fathered. That hole needs to be filled correctly, and we can't fill it. So we learn how to step back and refer men to other men. Let the breach be healed the only way that it can, and stop taking on that burden. If you listen to Tony Gaskins' video and Erica Dinero's video back to back and you are honest, there ain't nowhere in the world a black woman can solve the problems that black men are having right now because they are disconnected from positive images of themselves. We can't solve that problem as women. If you read through all the comments after Kevin Samuel's death and all the anguish that these men were in, and if you could read through it for just a second without immediately jumping to, well, look at what they did to black women. Yes, I know. But right now, I want you to understand the problem. And be humble. We can't solve that. But if we step back and also make good referrals before we step back, this allows these men to be healed. This allows them to stop escalating to the point that they are taking their frustration, their abandonment trauma, and their trauma bonding out to the point that they are destroying everything around them. Again, if you no longer care enough about black men, then remember that the life that you're saving may be your own, your sisters, your aunts, your mothers, your daughters, your granddaughters. And also, you are also saving the entire life of your sons and your grandsons. A lot of us have a lot of hurt. A lot of us have a lot of trauma. And there's just a lot that has been done that is beyond the individual Black person to heal another Black person. We love to engage in these fantasies about love conquers all. Okay, yes, but romantic love certainly does not. Sexual love does not. Both of them can create more problems for people involved. We have absent fathers and single mothers. We also have STDs. We also have massive healthcare costs. Those two kinds of love are not solving it. What you need to look at is what is called the agape love, which will figure out what does this person really need and how do I provide them that and nothing else. And step back out of the way. And in going, if this is a Christian man, then may I suggest you refer him to the Lord Jesus Christ, the model for perfect manhood. And I know Black men, like, I ain't worshiping no white God. Again, massive, ridiculous ignorance. If we have not learned anything from Kyrie Irving and Kanye West and everything that's around them, you ought to know right now by now that there are Jews who there are Ashkenazic Jews and there are Sephardic Jews. There are Jews of different, there are Falasha Jews, there are Jews of different hues, and ancient Jews were closer to this hue. So just cut it out. A Christian man will respond to Jesus Christ. My sheep hear my voice. So when you hear a Christian man complaining and carrying on, then all you ask him about, because you can find out right now, does he know Christ? Does he love Christ? Does he honor Christ? Does he submit to Christ? Because all these people want all this submission. Before you get submission from a woman, you need to be submitted to God. The head of man is God. Before you get, everybody wants to read that. That's what man. It's the Bible says the man is head of woman. The Bible also says that God is the head of man is Christ. So how you doing with that? Husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church. How you doing with that? How you doing with Ephesians 4? Ask these men. Have you talked to the Lord Jesus Christ about your situation? If he's a Christian, see what he responds. If you get well, no, this man is rebelling against God himself. Short answer, run. And by the way, like I said, if any man doesn't want to actually do the work, once you have gone out of your way to provide him some resources, run. Resources will be in the description of this video. I'm going to put up my mentor.life again. I'm going to put up BetterHelp again. I'm going to put up some good YouTube channels for you to listen to learn some things. And I'm going to do everything I can to refer men to men going into 2023. Because in our next video, what we're going to talk about is you stop hanging around people that always have you arguing. That stuff is killing us. But in order to stop the argument and to show a little bit of human compassion, what do? As Black women, we cannot solve these abandonment issues. We cannot solve the trauma bonding. So we refer men who want to grow to men who can actually help them grow. And that is the best way that we save our lives and our children's lives. And I know some of you don't care about it, but Black men are out here killing Black men 25 times a day over this foolishness. I would like that to stop. Joe Biden's not going to stop it. Mitch McConnell's going to lose his Senate majority seat, so he's not going to be able to stop it. Donald Trump's trying to save himself. Kanye West is out here trying to put Hitler and Nazis together. And I hope Kyrie Irving's playing decent basketball right now. I have stopped keeping up with that. But the point I'm trying to make is ain't nobody coming to help us. So we're going to have to take care of this ourselves. Refuse to overcompensate men, but put them in contact with men who can help them. And that is how we find a solution to this problem. All right. That's deep. I know. But y'all have a good day now. And again, as we're going to talk about in the next video, stop arguing with these men. If you give them a referral and they don't want to follow up, they want to keep arguing, block them. Cut it off. Leave that foolishness in 2023. No, leave that foolishness in 2022 because we're heading to 2023. All right. Y'all have a good day now. Goodbye.